Hello, my name is Brandy Bentley, and today I'm going to be going over a type of intervention called a token economy. This presentation will cover many aspects of token economies, from the simple definition to past research to what should be done to study this topic in the future. I hope you enjoy this presentation and all it has to offer. Economy is an intervention where the individual involved can earn tokens, which can take many different forms, and trade them in for a reinforcing prize. Prizes can range from food to playtime to new privileges and so on. This process is most often used to inspire desired behaviors to continue or to curb the occurrence of unwanted behaviors. This makes the token economy an intervention used a lot in educational or institutional situations where the individuals involved may be exhibiting behaviors that aren't socially acceptable or could be harmful to the public or themselves. Token economies are not new and have more than likely been around for thousands of years. The first form of a token was indeed a small clay coin. They've grown over time to include many options, including things like sketch, check marks, or colored lights. However, token economies have not always been a treatment process. In fact, they actually started as the foundation of the transactions and trades we still perform every day. We still exchange tokens in the form of money for goods and services today, don't we? Token economies actually became an intervention at the beginning of the 19th century. Several components go into successful token economies. First is that there must be a desired outcome or a certain targeted behavior as a goal. There must also be a token to exchange, along with the backup reinforcers that accompany the token at the exchange. It is important to define when the tokens will be handed out and how many tokens will be needed at one time for an exchange. In some situations, there can also be a response cost in which tokens are removed as a response to unwanted behaviors. Token economy research is most often performed on children, usually in a classroom setting or with children who have been temporarily institutionalized due to behavioral or emotional issues. This type of research often tries to use token economies to help motivate students in classrooms to perform better on their assignments, with the tokens as a source of inspiration to actually put in effort. Researchers also hope that when token economies are used with children who have problem behaviors, they can possibly help the children understand proper social behaviors and when to use them in public. Several studies examined how children's preferences towards tokens and reinforcements affected their responses to the token economy setup. Others examined unique concepts of the token economy, such as what would happen if the reinforcement never changed, or what adding another factor like self-management could do to the intervention's overall effectiveness. The vast majority of the studies involving children support the idea that token economies effectively decrease rates of problem behavior and help children focus more efficiently on the task at hand. Research on how adults respond to token economy interventions is a much less studied area. Some research does exist, however, and it also seems to support the effectiveness of token economies, similarly to how the experiments involving children did. One study by LeBlanc, Hagopian, and Maglieri focused on a man with an intellectual disability who often participated in socially inappropriate behavior. The tokens he received would be taken away if he misbehaved in public, and he could earn more if he acted appropriately. The result of this intervention was that the number of inappropriate behaviors the man exhibited decreased exponentially. Another study by Nelson was done on college students to study how a token economy would affect classroom participation. If the students asked questions each class, they could eventually earn points from participation that would translate into extra credit. The result, which is probably obvious, was that students were motivated to participate and perform well in their class. An interesting take on token economy studies comes from the research done on animals. This goes back to the roots of the basic processes involved in the intervention, and the most commonly studied aspect using animals is how the token type or reinforcement type affects responses. Usually, the animals chosen as subjects are pigeons, chimpanzees, or rats. Surprisingly, however, pigeons seem to be chosen the most out of these options. The results of the animal studies most often supported that circumstances of exchange in the token economy are as important as the token type, as the animals would pay attention to what was expected of them and usually take the most advantageous path. Results also supported that rats and chimps can apply more complex concepts to their token and reinforcer choice, as long as this makes the outcome more favorable for them. The overall majority of studies supports the idea that, as an intervention, token economies are effective and usually do help participants reach whatever their final goal is, from achievement to better behavior and so on. However, this does not mean that the token economy is a perfect intervention. Bailey, Gross, and Cotton tried to implement a token economy in a foster care facility, but ultimately this process did not succeed. The staff of the facility did not want to follow the guidelines and procedures, and this resulted in the misuse of tokens and reinforcements, so in the end the intervention was a failure. In this situation, the intervention was not fit for the circumstances, since everyone who is involved must comply with the rules willingly for it to be effective. Another flaw in the intervention, pointed out by Magan and colleagues, is that methodologically the research done on token economies is weak and invalid. The meta-analysis these researchers conducted pointed out that most of the research on this intervention involves very small sample sizes and are not generalizable to the vast majority of any population. The only way to truly support token economy effectiveness is to improve methodology and procedures in incoming experiments. As stated before, most of the research about token economies is performed on children. It would be beneficial for science to turn its focus on adults to see how generalizable and broad a token economy intervention can truly be. Another aspect of research that can be expanded upon is whether token economies can actually improve academic performance. This type of intervention is used very often in school settings, but the focus is usually always on the target behavior as a qualitative factor. Researchers could benefit from studying how academic performance quantitatively changes after the implication of this intervention to provide stronger evidence of its effectiveness. So this is the end of the token economy intervention slideshow. I hope you learned a little bit about the intervention and its effectiveness and what can be done better. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening.